The African Union Leadership Academy and Zhejiang University are holding a high-level dialogue and think tank forum this week in the Ethiopian capital, Addis Ababa. African delegates are hoping to glean lessons from China on how to alleviate poverty right across the continent. Now, various dignitaries attending this event include Musa Faki Mahamat, who's the chair of the African Union Commission, and Wang Yi, China's Foreign Affairs Minister. They're both in attendance. Here's CGTN's Girum Chala with more.
The high-level dialogue and think tank forum here in Addis Ababa is focusing on how China and Africa have dealt with poverty alleviation over the past 2 decades. The African Union says delegates will draw lessons from both countries' experiences. China's Foreign Minister Wang Yi has told participants here at the African Union Commission poverty alleviation needs synergized efforts to succeed. He has reiterated that China will remain a loyal partner to Africa on the continent's path to overcoming poverty. For his part, the African Union Commission chairperson Musa Faki Mahamat has acknowledged China's determination to alleviate poverty without depending on other nations. He says this self-reliance is an important lesson for African countries. The 2-day forum offers government representatives, lawmakers and civil society organizations the opportunity to identify clear policies to successfully alleviate poverty. Grumtala CGTN at the African Union headquarters in Addis Ababa.
Now, still on that summit, China has proposed 5 areas of cooperation with African states. These range from synergizing development strategies and cooperating in peace and security efforts to skills and resource development. Now, the African Union has welcomed the proposals. They say they're in line with Agenda 2063.
We stand ready to seize the opportunities presented by the Belt and Road Initiative, synergize China's 10 cooperation plans with the Agenda 2063, and deepen mutually beneficial cooperation to support African countries in achieving independent and sustainable development and eliminating poverty at an early date. To achieve that goal, first, China will step up the sharing of governance experience with Africa, formulate sound plans, identify our respective strengths and future cooperation priorities, and jointly explore a pathway out of poverty and towards development as needed by African countries. While China will share our experience with African friends without any reservation, we will never impose our own will on anyone.
And the first lesson that we learn from China is the fight, the alleviation of poverty and its capacity to give its full efforts to the founding principle that is to rely on one's own forces. In 20 years only, China has reduced by 20-fold poverty, reducing the rate or the percentage of absolute poor from 30% to almost 3% of its population. In its vision 2063, Africa has brought together its forces and decided to really take on its future, full of promises. Building an Africa in peace, prosperous and integrated, is now our target.
All right, then let's discuss this a little further with CGTN Sui Huiyao. He joins us now live, of course, from Beijing. What's the expected outcome of this high-level summit in Addis Ababa?
Sure, this high-level summit will focus primarily on the way that the poverty has been dealt with in China and in Africa in the past 2 decades. It would draw lessons from the 2 decades of poverty alleviation experience of both government and civil society organizations. So the expected outcome of this high-level summit would be for African countries to really leverage on China's experience of creating jobs and producing a stable and thriving economy. So to take Ethiopia as an example, the country has the goal of transforming from a low-income agricultural-based economy into a medium-income and export-oriented one by the year 2030. And the summit will provide a great opportunity for countries like Ethiopia to really identify the type of policies and programs that would fit in with its goal of alleviating poverty and building a stable economy. Back to you.
Indeed. China, of course, has had quite a bit of experience in lifting millions of people out of poverty over decades. So what lessons from that experience can the Chinese participants share at this summit or the African states in attendance?
Right, so China could actually serve as an amazing source of inspiration in this regard for Africa as the continent continues to fight against poverty. The figures are very telling, actually. China has lifted more than 700 million people out of poverty since the late 80s, and it has an ambitious goal to lift everybody in China out of poverty by 2020. And one of the key factors behind China's success in poverty alleviation work is called accurate targeting, meaning using precise and differentiated measures to target the very specific needs of those in poverty instead of giving the same kind of assistance to everybody, including those who don't actually need it. And another experience that China could share with the world, especially in Africa, is building up capacity. So one expert I talked to at last month's Poverty Forum in Beijing told me that it is important for a country to build up its capacity at first before pursuing solutions and targeting specific individuals. So these are some of the experience that Chinese participants at the summit could share with their African colleagues. Back to you.
Indeed, we'll leave you there for the time being. Thank you very much for that update.